Hello everyone, it's Glenda Winkleman and welcome back to Creative Grandma. I want to thank each and every one of you for all your prayers and well wishes for me and my family while I'm going through this trying time with my mother and her illness. She is home from the hospital and now she is under 24/7 care. I've been Actually, I moved in with her to care for her, so I'm back and forth between my house and hers, trying to do my videos, trying to crochet up a storm. I'm really behind, and I'm sorry about that, so thank you for your patience with me. I created this beautiful delicate stitch. I was thinking of my mom and something kind of pretty and cheerful to cheer her up. And I've seen this tulip stitch before, and I kind of made a few things with the rosebud stitch. So I call it the rosebud. Some people call it the tulip stitch. So this is my version of the rosebud tulip stitch. So this pattern requires 3 colors, or if you want to get creative, you can do something different with it. I used white for the background color. I used a green color for the leaves and a solid color for the flowers. I have 3 samples to show you. This is my pink sample. I made a yellow one, but I didn't have the right color green, and you know, when you're sitting there and you don't have access to your yarn, you got to use what you have. So this is the dark green and yellow. I didn't really care for the dark green. I think a prettier green would have been better, but that's my yellow sample. And then I had this beautiful blue and green yarn with me, so I made this really pretty delicate blue and green one. Very pretty. I really like this, and the pink. I like the pink because I like Victorian. But anyhow, these are my 3 samples. And these samples were made with worsted weight yarn, Red Heart Super Saver, and I used a size 10J hook. So with this pattern, this is a multiple of 4 plus 2. And for this sample, we're going to chain 30. So if you want to work along with me and learn how to do this stitch, get your yarn. You're going to need 3 different colors. And if you're using a different weight of yarn, then use whatever hook is recommended on the yarn label. So whatever color you're going to use for your background, get that ready and chain 30. And I'll be right back to get this project started. I have my chain 30 ready. Sorry about kind of white on white. I still think it's showing up pretty well. To begin this row, the first 4 rows will all be single crochet rows. So to begin the first foundation row, we're going to skip the first chain, never count the loop. You're always going to count the next chain. So you're going to skip the first chain and you're going to work a single crochet into the second chain. So insert into that chain, yarn over the hook, pull it through that chain, yarn over the hook, and pull it through 2 loops. You just made your first single crochet. So you're going to work a single crochet in each one of these chains across. So I'm going to work 2 more single crochet to show you how to do it. Insert into the next chain, yarn over the hook, pull it through the chain, yarn over the hook, and pull it through 2 loops. You just made your second single crochet. Insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over the hook, pull it through the chain, yarn over the hook, and pull it through 2 loops. So go ahead and work a single crochet in each chain across over to the end. So work right up into that last chain, which is right here, and I'll meet you at the end of your chain and show you how to turn your work. I'm over at the end of row 1, and I worked in each chain. I chained 30, and you should have 29 single crochet across. Now if you've never done the single crochet and never counted them, you go at the top of your work and you can see these kind of heart-shaped loops. You just count 1, 2, 3, 4, count across, and you should have a total of 29 single crochet. So for rows 2 through 4, they're all going to be the same. All 3 rows will be single crochet. So you're going to chain 1 at the end of row 1. When you're finished, chain 1, take your work and turn it to the back. Now when you go to start your next row, a lot of beginning crocheters get confused with this here stitch here, this chain 1. Now you do not work in this stitch. If you do, your work's going to gradually increase on both sides. So make sure you skip this and look for that first stitch. It's right here. So if you look here, this is your first stitch and this is your chain 1. So go down into that first stitch, insert your hook front to back, yarn over the hook, pull it through the stitch. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over the hook and pull it through the 2 loops. You just made your first single crochet. Insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over the hook, pull it through the stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through 2 loops on the hook. You just made your second single crochet. So go ahead and work a single crochet in each stitch across to the end, and you're going to chain 1 and turn your work just like you did in the previous row. So work 3 more rows of single crochet, so you have a total of 4 rows of single crochet. I'll be back at the end of row 4 and show you how to start row 5. So to start row 5, you're going to turn your work. I'm going to insert my hook into that first single crochet stitch. So the first kind of cluster shell stitch we're going to make is different than the other ones because you always have to chain for your first stitch. So with the half double crochet, you usually chain 2, but because I'm doing 2 half double crochet together as a cluster, we only chain 1 because we only want half a stitch. So I just hold a small amount of yarn down and then I pull my yarn through and then I work my stitches over this little bit of yarn here. So to start this 2 half double crochet cluster shell, don't let that scare you, it's just a lot of words. We're going to chain 1. That's the first half of our first half double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same single crochet stitch, yarn over the hook, pull it through. You have 3 loops on the hook. That's a light green, I hope you can see it. Yarn over the hook and pull it through all 3 loops. That's your first 2 half double crochet cluster stitch. You're going to chain 2 and you're going to work 1 more 2 half double crochet together cluster stitch right there in that same stitch. So yarn over the hook once, insert it into the stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through, keeping all loops on hook. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same single crochet stitch, yarn over the hook, pull it through the stitch. Now you have 5 loops on your hook, yarn over the hook and pull through all 5 loops on your hook. You just made your second half of your cluster shell stitch, and this is what forms the leaves. So now this is going to be the beginning of our repeat across. So the beginning of our repeat, you will chain 1. You're going to skip the next, take this extra yarn and pull it back. You don't want to work because there's too many stitches in between your next cluster. So we'll just weave that in when we're all done with our work. So we just chained 1. Now we're going to skip the next 3 single crochet stitches and we're going to go into this 4th stitch. So yarn over the hook because we're going to work a half double crochet cluster. So yarn over the hook, insert it into that 4th stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through the stitch, keeping all loops on the hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through. You should have 5 loops on your hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over the hook and pull it through all 5 loops. That is the first 2 half double crochet cluster of your shell. Chain 2, yarn over the hook. It's a little distracting, I'm going to move that. Yarn over the hook and you're going to insert into that same single crochet, yarn over the hook and pull it through the stitch. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same single crochet, yarn over the hook, and pull it through that stitch. 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook and pull through all 5 loops on your hook. So that was the beginning of your repeat. You're going to repeat that across your sample swatch. So I'll show you one more time. Chain 1. You're going to skip the next 3 stitches and you're going to go into the 4th. So yarn over the hook, insert it into that 4th stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through the stitch. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through that stitch. 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook and pull it through all 5 loops. That is the first 2 half double crochet cluster of your shell. You're going to chain 2. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same single crochet stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same single crochet, yarn over the hook and pull it through your stitch. 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook and pull it through all 5 loops on your hook. And that is how you do your 2 double crochet cluster, chain 2, 2 double crochet cluster. So the repeat again is you chain 1, you skip the next 3 stitches and you work a 2 half double crochet cluster, chain 2, 2 half double crochet cluster in the 4th chain. So go ahead and work across and you will be working your last cluster stitch in the very last single crochet. So work across and I'll meet you at the end of row 5. I'm at the end of row 5 and you should have, if you're working the sample swatch where you chain 30, then you should have 2, 4, 6, 8 of the shell stitches across. And that's what your work should look like. And row 5 is the beginning of the repeat of the pattern. The repeat of the pattern will be repeat rows 5 through 10. So like I said, there's only like 3 rows and then the rest is all single crochet. So kind of an easy pattern. Just take it slow when you're working the flower rows and you'll be fine. It's a very, very pretty pattern. So I'm at the end and I'm just going to fasten off my work. And I'm letting all my ends hang and weave them in at the end. Now with this pattern, you're going to go back to the beginning. So do not turn your work. You're just going to go right back to the beginning of row 5 because you want all your flowers, the parts of your flower showing on the right side of the work. So row 6 will actually start in the beginning of your previous row of row 5. I have my next color, which I'm using pink. I'm going to let a little bit, about 2 to 3 inches, hang down. And I'm leaving all my ends. I work my first stitch over these joining threads and then I weave them in at the end when I'm finished with my work. I'm going to insert my hook from front to back in the chain 2 space of this beginning half double crochet cluster shell. So insert your hook in that first chain 2 space and pull that new color through. So for our little rosebud or tulip, whatever you want to call this stitch, we're going to chain 1. That is the first half of our half double crochet cluster. Now with this, we're going to do 3 half double crochets to make our little flower. So this chain 1 acts as the first half of the first half double crochet. That's a little hard to say. Okay, so yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain 2 space, yarn over the hook and pull it through the stitch. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain 2 space, yarn over the hook and pull it through the stitch. You now have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook and pull it through all 5 loops. That is your little flower. That is my rosebud or the tulip, whichever you want to call it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip this chain 1 space And all we're going to do is work our little rosebuds in each chain 2 space of each cluster across with a chain 3 in between. So this will be your repeat. We're going to work a 3 double crochet cluster in the chain 2 space of this next shell. So yarn over the hook, insert it into that chain 2 space front to back, yarn over the hook and pull it through. 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain 2 space, yarn over the hook and pull it through the stitch. You now have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain 2 space, yarn over the hook and pull it through the stitch. You should now have 7, 2, 4, 6, 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook and pull it through all 7 loops on your hook. And again, the first little rosebud was different because anytime you start a row, your first stitch has to be chain stitches. So that is why that had 5 loops on the hook and this one had 7. So the rest of your little rosebuds will have 7 loops on the hook when you take them off. But you can kind of see how your little flowers are forming. Very, very pretty. I just love this stitch pattern. Okay, so now we're going to chain 3. So this is the start of your repeat. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. You're going to skip this chain 1 space and you're going to work a 3 half double crochet cluster into the chain 2 space of this next shell. So again, this is the start of the repeat. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. You're going to work 3 half double crochet cluster in this chain 2 space of this next shell stitch. So yarn over the hook, insert it from front to back through that chain 2 space, yarn over the hook and pull it through the stitch. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain 2 space, yarn over the hook and pull it through that stitch. You should have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain 2 space, yarn over the hook and pull it through the stitch. You should now have a total of 7 loops on your hook. So yarn over and pull through all 7 loops on your hook. And that is your repeat across. So go ahead and work your chain 3 and your 3 half double crochet cluster in the next chain 2 space. You're going to chain 3, you're going to skip the chain 1 space and you're going to be working in the next chain 2 space. So repeat that across and I'll meet you at the end of row 6 where your last stitch should be a 3 half double crochet cluster in the chain 2 space of this last shell. So for row 7, we're going to come back to the beginning of where we started row 6. So basically these are the 3 rows that you want to continually start at the beginning of the previous row. So all these stitches are facing front and on the right side of your work. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my off-white. And again, I leave just a small piece hang down and then I work my couple stitches over the top. So with this pattern, because our bottom had 29 single crochet, we need to get 29 single crochet across the top of our work. So to do that, we're going to insert our hook into the top of this beginning half double crochet cluster stitch. We're just going to pull the yarn through. You're going to chain 1 and you're going to work 1 single crochet, insert into the top of that stitch, yarn over the hook, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over the hook and pull it through. You just made your first single crochet. So with this pattern, the first half double crochet cluster gets 1 single crochet only. The rest will get 2. That's how we come out with our 29 single crochet we need. So now we're going to work 2 double crochet, but we're going to come down here and work them clear down here 3 rows below. So we're going to work 2 double crochet in the second single crochet of the skip 3 single crochet 3 rows below, pulling our double crochet up to the current level of work. Okay, so that's not that hard. It just sounds like it's complicated. So you're only going to work a single or a double crochet, so yarn over the hook, and you're going to come clear down and you're going to look for that third single crochet. You have, or the 3 single crochet. You have 1, 2, 3. We're going into the center one right here in that second single crochet 3 rows below. So insert your hook from front to back, and you're going to work your stitches around all this here. So pull yarn over the hook and pull it through that stitch. Yarn over the hook, pull it through 2 loops only. Yarn over the hook and pull it through 2 loops. So you can see it's kind of putting a separation between our flowers. So we need to do one more. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same single crochet 3 rows below. Yarn over the hook, pull it through that stitch. Yarn over the hook, pull it through 2 loops only. Yarn over the hook and pull it through 2 loops. So now when we're working our single crochet into the next half double crochet cluster, usually I work in this little loop here, but with this pattern you need to come over here on the right side. So you'll see this little hole on the left, and then you'll see this stitch over here. You need to really get in there. Just go under these top, that one strand and the next, and there's like only one piece of yarn here. So you want to make sure that you make sure your hook is in between that. You need to have that there so it doesn't slide your stitches into this space. You want to keep them right here at the edge of this stitch. So let me show you again. Here is your half double crochet cluster. You see this little hole? You want to come to the right side of that. So you want to come over here. You're only going to go under the 2 strands of yarn, but you have to make sure you have that one strand under it. That keeps your stitches in place and gives you a more professional look. Yarn over the hook, pull it through that stitch. Yarn over the hook, pull it through 2 loops. You need to make one more single crochet in that same space, a little easier to see now. Insert your hook, yarn over the hook, pull it through that stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through 2 loops. And that's what it should look like. So now this is the beginning of your repeat. You're going to work 2 double crochet, 3 rows below in that center single crochet. So there's 3 single crochets you skipped. You're going to work 2 double crochet in that center single crochet. You work your stitches around this and pull your double crochet up to the current level of work. So yarn over the hook, go down into that second single crochet 3 rows below, and you can see how my yarn is going over in the front, my hook's coming out in the back. I yarn over the hook, it pulls it around the back and through that stitch. Yarn over the hook and pull it through 2 loops. Yarn over the hook and pull it through 2 loops. That's your first double crochet. You need to make one more in that same stitch. Yarn over the hook, come down into that same single crochet, yarn over the hook, pull it through that stitch, yarn over the hook, pull it through 2 loops, yarn over the hook and pull it through 2 loops. That is your 2 double crochet. And you can see how it kind of like just separates your work a little bit. And then you're going to work 2 single crochet on the right side of that next half double crochet cluster. So insert it on that right side under those 2 strands and make sure that thread is underneath it. Work your first single crochet. You need to work one more in that same stitch. And there is your second. And that is your repeat. So work that repeat across and you will end with your 2 double crochet in that second single crochet between the last 2 clusters, and then you'll have your 2 single crochet in this right side of your cluster stitch. So go ahead and work across and I'll be right back and meet you at the end. I'm at the end of row 7 and you can see how it kind of separated our little rosebuds or tulips. So now for rows 8, 9, and 10, we're going to do 3 rows of single crochet. So you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work. Now remember, skip that chain 1 or your work will go gradually increase. So skip this chain 1 space and go into that first stitch. Yarn over the hook, pull it through the stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through 2 loops. That is a single crochet. Find your next stitch right here. If you're not sure, looking on this side, kind of turn it slightly and look for the little heart-shaped heart shape here under those 2 strands. Insert your hook under both strands, yarn over the hook, pull it through the stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through 2 loops on the hook. Insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over the hook, pull it through the stitch, yarn over the hook and pull through 2 loops. So you're just going to continue working single crochet in each stitch across. When you get to the end of the row, you're going to chain 1 and you're going to work 2 more rows of single crochet when you're finished with row 8. So when you're done with row 8, work 2 more rows of single crochet and I will meet you at the end of row 10. I'm at the end of row 10 and this is what your work should look like. Now this is the wrong side, so I'm just going to fasten off because that's the end of our repeat. So for this pattern you would continue repeating row 5 through 10. So now I'm going to turn my work. Now these get pushed down when you work. They'll get pushed to the back. You can just pop them out with your finger. Whoops. And that is what your sample swatch should look like at this point. Very, very pretty. This is where I did the repeat 3 times. My ends are not woven in because I'm trying to save time and get this video made since I've been out of commission for a little bit. But this is what your overall pattern should look like when you work this pattern. And remember, you do not have to do it specifically this way. Like if you wanted more rows in between these patterns so you're not changing colors as much, you can also add another couple rows of single crochet. So when you're doing those rows 8 through 10 of single crochet, you can add a couple extra rows. Just make sure you keep track of what you're doing and then just repeat the same thing if you add extra rows throughout your pattern. But very, very pretty pattern. Okay, so for people who have never weaved in ends, I'm just going to take, let me flip this over on the back. I have my yarn needle. I'm taking this little piece of pink I have here on the end. You just get your yarn threaded in your needle, that little snibbling. And what I do, let me close up here for people who's never done this before. I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to come back here to the back of the stitch. I'm going to put it through those stitches. I'm going to come up underneath these white ones. My needle's underneath these white stitches now. And then I'm just going to come through the other end. I'm going to pull that through. Grab which one's the end? There we go. And I also will go through a few more. I just pull it through a couple stitches, then I go up through that pink. I'll take it right underneath that white and I'll go right into that pink of that next stitch. And then you just pull it through, just so you're weaving it in, you know. Go in several stitches. Don't go in 1 or 2. Really take it over through like maybe 7 or 8 stitches to make it secure. And then just take your scissors and snip it. And there you can't even see your ends. So that's what we do to weave in our ends. So somebody asked me to show how to do that. So that's how you do it. Now I'm sorry I'm showing my samples again with all the ends in, but this is the pink. This was the yellow. And then I did one with a really soft, pretty blue. If you just want a calming effect with with the blue. Very, very pretty. So these are just a couple samples I made. I hope you enjoyed this pattern. This is called the Rosebud or Tulip Stitch. And please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, everyone. Happy crocheting.